Okay, picture this for a second. You're walking down this mountain path, pretty peaceful sunlight coming through the leaves, but then you see something, well, something truly horrific. This massive being, absolutely huge. The text says 3 Gabuddhas tall, which is just colossal. And this giant figure is being tormented. 60,000 burning iron spikes just constantly falling on its head, shattering it. And then agony, it just reforms, only to be broken all over again. Just awful. So, yeah, a pretty nightmare image, right? That's our starting point for this deep dive. We're digging into a really old Buddhist text, the Saṭṭhikūṭapetavatthu, which translates basically as the story of the 60-spiked ghost. And it's a story that's, well, as profound as it is chilling.
Exactly. And what we want to explore here is, what really makes a skill count? Is it just having the talent? Or is it about how you use it, the intention? Because this ancient story, it gives us these powerful insights, these sort of nuggets of knowledge about responsibility, the weight that comes with ability, and how our actions ripple outwards in ways we often don't expect. And you might find these ideas connect surprisingly closely to, well, to our lives today.
So who actually saw this terrifying ghost? It was Mahāmoggallāna, one of the Buddha's top disciples, really famous for his psychic powers. He's coming down Vulture Peak Jishakyo with another monk, and suddenly he just smiles, this really mysterious smile. Later, the Buddha asks him about it, and Moggallāna explains, I saw this peta.
A peta, right? Often translated as a ghost or maybe a tormented spirit.
Yeah, and it was that huge being tortured by those 60,000 spikes. Head breaking, reforming over and over.
Okay, let's unpack that. I mean, a giant ghost, burning spikes, a head that keeps reforming. What kind of, cosmic horror show is this? It seems so incredibly graphic for these kinds of texts sometimes. Is it just a warning or is there more to it?
That's a really good point because it is extremely graphic. And what's fascinating is the Buddha's reaction. He confirms it. He says, yeah, I saw that exact same being myself back when he attained enlightenment at the Bodhimanada. But, and this is key, he chose not to talk about it then.
Why not?
Well, he apparently feared people wouldn't believe him. They'd doubt. And that doubt, he felt, would actually cause them harm in the long run. So he showed this incredible discernment, waiting for the right time and the right witness. Mahāmoggallāna was that witness, someone people would believe.
Ah, okay, so Moggallāna seeing it gave the Buddha the opening.
Precisely. Now he could finally reveal the backstory, the karma that led to such a fate. It shows wisdom isn't just knowing, but knowing when and how to share. Right. So naturally, the monks immediately asked, what did this being do? What was its past deed, its paccekabuddha, to end up like this?
And that's when the Buddha tells this incredible story about 2 men in ancient Vārāṇasī, both skilled, but very different outcomes.
Okay, let's hear it.
The first man was called a pīṭhasappi.
A pīṭhasappi, what's that?
Someone incredibly skilled at throwing pebbles or small stones, unbelievably precise. This guy, he used to sit under a tree near the city gate. And just for kicks, apparently he'd throw pebbles at the leaves and cut them into shapes.
Shapes like what?
Like little elephants, horses, intricate stuff just by throwing pebbles.
Wow. Okay.
And the village kids loved it. They'd watch him and give him food in return.
So one day, the king is passing by on his way to a park or something, stops under the same tree, and he notices the shade is weirdly sparse, because of the leaves being cut. He asks who did it, and someone points out the pīṭhasappi.
And this is interesting, isn't it? How skill gets noticed, even something seemingly minor, like cutting leaves with pebbles.
Yeah, it wasn't like the king was looking for a political advisor or anything, just curiosity.
Exactly. It shows how value can pop up in unexpected places.
And it turns out the king actually had a problem this guy might solve. His royal chaplain, the Purahita, was super talkative, excessively talkative, drove the king mad.
Ah, the classic talkative advisor problem.
Right. So the king challenges the pīṭhasappi. He says, basically, think you could shut this guy up? And the solution the pīṭhasappi comes up with is, well, it's ingenious, but also completely bizarre.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
He asks for a night of goat dung pellets.
A night, like a specific amount.
Yeah, it's an old measure, apparently quite a lot. So a lot of goat dung pellets.
Oh boy, where does this go?
He gets the king and the chaplain to sit behind a screen. He cuts a tiny hole in it. And then every single time the chaplain opens his mouth to speak.
Don't tell me.
He throws a pellet, zip, right into the chaplain's mouth. Yes. And the chaplain just swallows them. This happens until all the pellets are gone.
That's horrifying and hilarious.
Then the pīṭhasappi shakes the screen like a signal. The king gets it, turns to the chaplain and says, "Teacher, I can't talk to you. You're so chatty, you just swallowed a whole neigh of goat dung and you're still not quiet.
Oh, the shame.
Exactly. The chaplain was apparently so mortified he just couldn't speak to the king anymore. Problem solved.
Wow. Okay. So, unconventional method, but effective.
Yeah.
And the outcome for the pīṭhasappi.
Huge reward. The king was thrilled. Gave him a high honor, something called Saṭṭhikūṭapeta, and 4 villages in each direction from the city. So 16 villages total. Big deal.
Incredible. It just shows, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even a weird skill, if applied cleverly to solve a powerful person's problem.
Yeah, can lead to serious fortune. And here's a fascinating detail. The king's minister at the time, that was the Buddha in a past life.
Oh, interesting.
And observing this, he apparently remarked something like, wow, even a skill like that can be good. Look how this cripple's throw won him villages everywhere.
A cripple's blow. Why that phrase?
The text sometimes refers to the pīṭhasappi that way, perhaps implying a physical limitation that made his skill even more remarkable, or maybe just a term for someone of low standing initially. But the point is the effectiveness of the skill itself.
Got it. Skill is a neutral tool, almost.
Okay, so that's story number 1. Skill used creatively, let's say, for a good outcome. But then there's the second character.
Right, the counterpoint.
Another guy sees the first pīṭhasappi success, the wealth, the villages, and thinks, hey, I want some of that. I need to learn this pebble throwing thing.
Understandable motive, maybe.
So he goes to the original pīṭhasappi, serves him really well, begs him constantly, teach me, teach me. Eventually, the first guy reluctantly agrees and teaches him the art.
Okay, so the skill is transferred.
Yes. But here's the turn. As soon as this second guy masters the skill, what does he want to do?
Oh.
He says, I want to test my skill. I want to hit and kill a cow or a person.
Whoa. Okay, that's a dark turn immediately.
Right. No thought of using it for entertainment or solving problems, just destruction.
That difference in intent is stark, isn't it? The first guy uses it, maybe weirdly, but ultimately to restore some peace for the king. This guy immediately thinks violence.
And the original teacher, the first pīṭhasappi, he sees the danger. He warns the student, look, harming animals, that's a big fine, like 100 coins. Harming people, 1,000. He says, you and your family, you can't afford that.
Practical advice? Grounded in consequences.
Then he gives this slightly strange advice. He says, find someone without parents nimata pitaka, hit them. There's no penalty for that.
That sounds like problematic advice, even if meant to deter, suggesting there are people it's okay to harm.
It does sound odd to us, yeah. Maybe it reflects a specific legal or social context then, or perhaps it was a flawed attempt to steer him away from owned property or people with families who would seek retribution or fines, but the student takes it literally.
Okay, so what happens?
The student wanders around, clutching his pebbles. He sees cows, but thinks, nope, has an owner, sees people, thinks, nope, they have parents. He can't bring himself to do it. But then he sees Sunetto.
Suneko.
A Paccekabuddha. That's like an enlightened being, but one who achieves enlightenment alone and doesn't teach others publicly.
Right, a solitary awakened one. Highly respected.
Sunetto is entering the city for his daily alms round, and the student thinks, aha, this one has no parents, no family in the usual sense. If I hit him, there'll be no penalty. I'll test my skill on him.
Oh no, this is terrible. Targeting an enlightened being.
Yeah, and he does it. He throws a pebble with that deadly precision he learned. It hits Sunetto, pierces his right ear, and goes straight out the left.
Horrific.
And
Violence of it.
the consequences are immediate. The Paccekabuddha is in immense pain. He can't continue begging for food. He uses his powers to fly back to his hut, and there he passes away. He attains parinibbana.
So the act directly leads to his death.
Directly. And when the local people find Sunetto dead, they're devastated. He was clearly beloved. Then the student, seeing the commotion, walks up to the crowd.
And does what?
He boasts. He actually says completely shamelessly, yeah, that was me. I hit him. Just testing my skill.
Unbelievable. The lack of remorse, the arrogance.
The crowd is enraged. Understandably. They fall upon him and beat him to death right there on the spot.
So, the same skill, same precision. One guy gets villages and honor, the other gets beaten to death immediately after committing a terrible act.
Yeah.
The difference isn't the skill, it's purely the wisdom, the intention, or the lack thereof.
Yeah.
The inner state completely dictated the outcome.
Okay, so how does this all connect back? The second disciple, the one beaten to death.
He's the ghost.
Or he's the ghost. The Buddha explains it. That disciple, because of that terrible act of killing the Paccekabuddha, he was reborn first in Avīci hell.
Avīci? That's supposed to be one of the worst hell realms, isn't it?
Yes, unimaginable suffering for an incredibly long time. The text describes it as as long as the great earth is a yojana high, basically. An incomprehensible duration.
Wow.
And even after all that time in hell, there was still a remainder of that negative karma.
Exactly. And that residue led to his rebirth as the 60-spiked ghost on Vulture Peak. Enduring that specific torment, the spikes breaking his head, mirroring perhaps the way his misused skill pierced the Paccekabuddha's head.
So that's the origin. And the Buddha's final word on this, his core teaching from the story.
It's very direct. He tells the monks, "Monks, when skill or power arises for a fool, it arises for his harm. For a fool, having gained skill or power only brings about his own harm." It's a stark warning.
Okay. So what does this mean for us, listening today? How do we unpack that core teaching?
Well, there's a key verse that really sums it up. Whatever knowledge a fool acquires is only for his own harm. It destroys his good deeds and breaks his head. Let's break that down a bit.
Please.
Knowledge here, the word is nyatad. It isn't just facts. It really means skill, ability, power, even fame or reputation. Anything you acquire or possess.
Okay.
When it says this knowledge destroys his good deeds, sukasa, it means it wipes out any positive karma, any merit they might have built up. It's like the negative use of the skill poisons everything else.
Right. Cancels out the good.
And the final part, breaks his head. Mudha
Yeah.
vipatayanti. This sounds brutal and obviously connects to the ghost's torment. But metaphorically, head in this context often refers to wisdom panya.
Ah. So it's not just physical harm.
No,
Yeah.
it's saying the misuse of your skills, your knowledge, your power. It fundamentally shatters your own wisdom.
Yeah.
It destroys your ability to see clearly, to discern right from wrong. It corrupts your own mind.
That's powerful and kind of unsettling, actually. So the ultimate takeaway from this deep dive, from this ancient story, seems to be about the immense responsibility that comes with, well, with anything we're good at. Any knowledge, any influence.
Absolutely.
It's not just what you know or what you can do.
It's how you use it, the intention, the wisdom guiding it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Just consider for a moment, the tools you have, your talents, the knowledge you've gained, maybe skills from your job, your hobbies, even just how you use information, how you communicate online.
All those things count as knowledge or skill in this sense.
Exactly. So the question to reflect on is, are you applying these things like the first pīṭhasappi? Aiming, maybe sometimes imperfectly, but aiming for positive outcomes, for creating something, solving something, bringing some peace? Or is there even a small risk that you might be, perhaps unknowingly, walking down the path of that second disciple, where your own knowledge, your own skills could inadvertently become the very thing that ends up undermining your good deeds and ultimately breaking your wisdom?
It's definitely something to think about. A sobering but really important reflection.